Good evening and welcome to a cinema car park. And I am determined to keep up with my reviews after falling behind somewhat and having to do 3 on the bounce. I've just come out of the cinema, so I'm going straight in on my review of Mr Burton. This is a new film from Welsh director Marc Evans, and it tells the story of how schoolboy Richie Jenkins became iconic actor Richard Burton. So I don't profess to know a lot about Richard Burton. If I think Richard Burton, I immediately think married Elizabeth Taylor twice, which is probably what a lot of people think of when they think of him. I know he was a very celebrated actor, and I've heard Ellis James do impressions of Richard Burton quite a lot of times over the last 5 years. Because I listen to a Welsh sports podcast. I do the bunny ears because sport adjacent. But for an English woman with 0 Welsh blood, and I mean 0, my sister did our genealogy, there's none in there. I've had quite an odd fixation with Wales and Welsh culture for about the last 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, because of this sports podcast, and because as a result of this sports podcast that I started listening to when it started during lockdown, I now have quite a lot of Welsh friends. More so, I've even started learning Welsh. In fact, I started learning Welsh over 500 days ago. Can I speak Welsh? Can I, Nelly? But I try it every day and I really enjoy it. So yeah, like I say, for an English woman, I've got an odd fixation with the Welsh. So the story of the actor who is still considered the greatest actor the country has ever produced. Yeah, I've just lost my train of thought. I've forgotten what the beginning of that sentence was. ADHD, kids, it's a right laugh. So yes, for me to watch how this, as I say, this schoolboy, this gangly teenage boy who is living in Port Talbot, there is a war on, and he is in school. He lives with his sister and brother-in-law and his 2 nieces, and he's attending school, and by all accounts he's a good student. But there's tension at home. His brother-in-law wants him to work and pay his way. His sister is absolutely adamant that he remain in school because, as she says, nobody in our family's ever finished school, and maybe he's the one who will. Their mother is long dead, died when young Richie was 2, and their father is a drunk and an absolute waste of space. The father, Dick Jenkins, is played by Steffan Rhodri, who to many people, although he's a very skilled Welsh actor with a very long CV, to a lot of people he will always be Dave Coaches from Gavin and Stacey. So yeah, Richie is living with his sister and brother-in-law. He's going to school, and his English teacher, one Mr Philip Burton, played by the exceptionally talented Toby Jones, sees something in young Richie, a talent that he feels is worth nurturing. And when Richie comes to him and says, I think I'd like to be an actor, it sparks the beginning of this partnership that would, as I say, go on to create one of the greatest actors that Wales has ever produced. So yeah, it's that origin story, if you like. And the Mr Burton of the title, it works both ways, because is it talking about Mr Burton the English teacher, or is it talking about Richard Burton the actor? And we watch over the course of this film how this young boy or young man becomes this celebrated Welsh icon. I did enjoy it. I was chuffed a bit because there are a few bits and pieces of Welsh spoken. I didn't realise that Richard Burton was a Welsh speaker, but he was. So there's bits and bobs of a few scenes where people are conversing in Welsh. I got very excited because I actually understood some. I mean, obviously I read the subtitles, but I did actually understand what they were saying, so that was quite exciting. And once the sort of flame has been lit between Mr Burton and Mr Jenkins, once we see the sort of progression of their relationship, and we see Richie start to train as an actor under the tutelage of Mr Burton. That was where the film sort of really hit its stride, and the partnership between Burton and Jenkins, the on-screen partnership between Toby Jones and young Englishman Harry Lawtey, who plays Richard Jenkins, who goes on to become Richard Burton, is absolutely superb. It also stars Lesley Manville as Mrs Smith. She is Mr Burton's housekeeper, so he lives with her as a lodger, has done for 12 years, and between them they kind of end up bizarrely raising Richie and sort of sculpting him into the man he will become. You've got lots of lovely Welsh scenery, although all under the shadow of the mines and the sort of smog that comes with that. Mr Jenkins Senior, the dad, Dick Jenkins, is an alcoholic. He's also a minor, or an ex-minor at least, and this sort of hangs over young Richie, that it's sort of, he feels tarred with this brush, that he's a miner's son, that he's less than. As his career starts to flourish, it's something that is sort of stopping him from being taken seriously in certain circles, and it's unfair, because talent is talent, and he is exceptionally talented. Harry Lawtey is outstanding in this part. We watch him go from slightly awkward, it's almost like a baby giraffe, like he doesn't know what to do with his limbs. He's tall, he's very slim, he's a very handsome boy with lovely cheekbones and things, but he sort of doesn't know what to do with his body, how to use it. He's got this thick, I won't say Welsh accent, because it could be all manner of things. I'm hoping it's a decent Port Talbot accent. Some of my Welsh friends will tell me. In fact, one of my Welsh friends is in the film. My lovely friend Paul Mellon is in the film. Just so exciting, and he had a line and everything, and I was sitting in the cinema and I just wanted to go, that's my friend Paul! But I couldn't, because I was in the cinema, and that would be poor etiquette. But yeah, so he goes from sort of awkward, inquisitive, and with this, like I say, this thick accent, to Richard Burton. And watching Philip Burton train the accent out of him, get him to enunciate properly, get him to aspirate, is that what he keeps telling him to do? How to breathe, how to stand, how to hold himself. And there's a monologue that they keep coming back to and rehearsing, and then there's a moment sort of quarters way through the film, when he stands in the doorway of Mr Burton's room, because like I say, at this point, these spoilers, he's moved into the house with Mr Burton and Mrs Smith. They've taken him under their wing, and he stands in the doorway and he starts to deliver that monologue, and in that moment he's Richard Burton, and it was spellbinding. The latter part of the film is him about to make his debut in Stratford-upon-Avon, doing Shakespeare. You do see him wrestle with the demons that come with being a miner's son, with being the son of a drinker, with going down that path himself. If I knew other things about Richard Burton prior to watching this, it would have been that he was a bit of a hellraiser, that he did like a drink. But yeah, Harry Lawtey is talented, man. The only other thing I've seen him in is the Joker sequel. I think he's very, very interesting and one to watch. And yeah, the transformation in him is exceptional, and how he holds himself and how his voice changes in that low register of Richard Burton's, which, like I say, if I think about it, I don't really know what Richard Burton sounds like. I know what Ellis James sounds like doing impressions of Richard Burton. Toby Jones is brilliant in everything. That's a given. Everybody's good. My friend Paul is great. It looks wonderful. Is it slightly too long? 2 hours, 4 minutes runtime? Yes, perhaps it could have been trimmed a little bit. And I did find it a little bit jarring when we jumped from the timeline we'd been on, then we go 4 months ahead, then we go 8 years ahead. But once we settled into the final section of the film, which was the 8 years in the future from where we started, it kind of found its rhythm again. It's a very well made film. It looks great. It's great to see a cast made up predominantly of Welsh people. Obviously, there'll be those that grumble that the gentleman actually playing Richard Burton isn't Welsh, but I don't think you can watch that and argue with Harry Lawtey's performance. It was absolutely exceptional. The film as a whole was great, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I say to all the people who made it, diolch, much appreciated. Okay, thanks for watching. Katie out.